6 House Republicans just voted against their own president's tariffs. The Senate Banking Committee chairman says the DOJ's investigation into the Fed chair is baseless. A retiring senator is blocking every Federal Reserve nominee until the White House backs down. This isn't the opposition party. This is Trump's own coalition. And the cracks are starting to show at the worst possible time. Because here's what most people are missing. With midterms 9 months away and approval ratings hovering near historic lows on the one issue that got him elected, the economy, the Republican Party's ironclad unity is facing its first real stress test since 2025. And the timing couldn't be more consequential for the direction of federal power, judicial appointments, and the 2028 presidential landscape. CNBC reported Friday that Trump is now grappling with public defections from top allies, failed grand jury indictments his DOJ pushed for, and an Epstein files release that's dominated headlines for a week straight, drowning out every economic message the White House tried to deliver. And if you're the kind of person who actually reads past the headlines, you probably already caught that. Most viewers here do. But here's the part that changes everything. This isn't about one bad week. This is about whether the Republican Party's structural loyalty to Trump holds when his approval ratings on the economy, the issue he owns, are underwater, and whether that loyalty can survive midterms where prediction markets are now favoring Democrats to retake the House. Let's start with what actually happened this week, and why it matters more than the media is telling you. 3 House Republicans sided with Democrats to defeat a procedural rule that would have blocked tariff votes until July. That's not supposed to happen. Leadership doesn't lose procedural votes. But it did. And then 6 Republicans voted to overturn Trump's Canadian tariffs outright. Now, those votes are symbolic. They won't actually stop the tariffs. But here's what they reveal. House leadership can't hold the line when the margin is this tight. Republicans can only afford to lose 1 vote on party line issues. They just lost 6. So ask yourself, if Trump's signature economic policy can't command full Republican support in the House, what happens when the real fights start? Debt ceiling, appropriations, reconciliation bills that actually reshape tax policy and entitlement spending. And here's the contradiction nobody's addressing. Trump campaigned on affordability. Inflation was the weapon Republicans used to win in 2024. But the latest AP-NORC poll shows most Americans think his immigration enforcement has gone too far, and the GOP's advantage on immigration has shrunk since last year. Meanwhile, over 266 businesses representing 100,000 others just sent an open letter warning that aggressive deportation tactics are threatening free markets, not progressive activists, business owners. Then there's the Federal Reserve investigation. The DOJ is criminally probing Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, over building cost overruns. Powell says it's retaliation for not cutting interest rates fast enough. And here's where it gets interesting. Senator Thom Tillis, a Republican who's retiring and has nothing to lose, is now blocking every Trump nominee to the Fed until the investigation stops. That includes Kevin Warsh, Trump's hand-picked replacement for Powell. And the Senate Banking Committee Chairman Tim Scott, one of Trump's closest allies, publicly said he doesn't believe Powell committed a crime. That's not a subtle disagreement. That's a direct contradiction of the president's narrative. Now, if you're someone who watches politics for the power dynamics, not just the theater, you already see where this is going. And that's exactly why channels like this exist. But here's the question that should be dominating the national conversation. Why now? Why are these fractures appearing at this exact moment? Drop your answer in the comments, because the debate happening there is honestly more interesting than what most outlets are covering. Here's what's actually at stake, and why the timing matters more than anyone saying out loud. Midterms are 9 months away. Prediction markets favor Democrats retaking the House. If that happens, Trump loses committee control. He loses subpoena power. He loses the ability to set the legislative agenda. And every judicial nomination, every executive appointment, every policy priority gets exponentially harder. But here's the deeper game. If Trump's approval on the economy stays underwater, and Republicans start seeing him as a liability rather than an asset in swing districts, the incentive structure changes. Suddenly, defecting from Trump isn't career suicide, it's smart politics. And that's what Friday's CNBC report is really telling us. The structural loyalty that held the party together through 2 impeachments, January 6th, and 4 indictments, is now being tested by something more powerful than any of that: polling in competitive districts. Because here's the reality: elected officials care about power. And if aligning with Trump costs them their seat, the equation shifts. The Epstein files release, the racist social media post, the failed sedition indictments, the Fed investigation — these aren't just bad headlines. They're distractions that prevent Trump from controlling the narrative on the one issue he needs to win: the economy. And every day he's not talking about inflation, gas prices, or tax cuts is a day Democrats get to define him as chaotic, divisive, and out of control. So here's the real question: can Trump rebuild his economic message before midterms, or has the window already closed? If you're following this story, you're not just watching the news. You're watching the foundation of 2028 being built in real time. And if that's the kind of depth you're here for, we'll keep breaking it down every single week. Because the next chapter of this is already unfolding. Check out the video on screen now about how the Epstein files are reshaping cabinet confirmations. It's the piece of this puzzle nobody else is connecting.